Hello and welcome back to the Awaken podcast. I'm your host, Maria Christine, and I am so excited to welcome our guest today, Kelly Brock. Kelly, welcome. It's so good to have you here.
I'm so happy to be here.
All right, for our listeners, I'm going to read a little bit about Kelly and then I'm going to also let her introduce herself as well. So, Kelly Brock is a visionary mentor, intuitive business coach, and founder of Multidimensional Matriarchs, a global movement for women rising into conscious leadership. Once a high-achieving entrepreneur trapped in burnout, she now teaches women how to replace hustle with an intuitive, soul-aligned way of leading and building impact. Kelly is also homeschooling and a conscious parent who believes the future of leadership begins with how we lead ourselves and how we lead within our families. Kelly, I am so honored to have you on as a guest today.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
Mhm. Kelly, would you share a little bit more? We threw out some amazing concepts that I feel like you are known for, being this multidimensional matriarch, leading from this place of conscious leadership. One, can you define what does multidimensional matriarch mean to
Mhm.
you? Like how did you land on that? Because I just feel like I hear it and so many women can resonate from it.
Mhm.
So, how did you land in that? And then, if you can share a little bit more about the conscious leadership movement and how that's showing up for you right now.
Yeah. I think it was almost an evolution into multidimensional matriarch. So I'll kind of start there. So a little bit of my background story. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 7. I was telling Maria before we got on here, I have always been a little creator, have been interested in being independent, have wanted to make my own money, love the idea of entrepreneurship and helping people and watching people enjoy the things that you create. So since I was little, I've always been an entrepreneur. And at 22 is when I started my first real entrepreneurship job, which was network marketing. And I went into network marketing and it was like my wounds met the match, the perfect match for the arena I said yes to, which I love network marketing, by the way. But what ended up happening was they said to me, the opportunity is equal to your ambition. And I was like, oh, good. I'm very ambitious. And I started succeeding very quickly. I earned free cars and top trips and built a whole career around it for almost a decade and
And
ended
was
up,
this Mary Kay? Was
this
this
was
Mary
Mary
Kay?
Kay.
This
Yeah.
is so funny too, because when Kelly and I met, she saw that I had a very small
I
blip
saw a
with
bag.
Mary
I saw
Kay.
a Mary Kay bag in one of your pictures. I'm like, did you
I
do
was like, I did that, not to the level that you did, but I just thought that's so funny that that was one thing that our paths shared.
yes, in our past. And so there was so many things about network marketing that was such a yes for me. Again, I could say a million things about that, positive and negative,
Yes.
but it was the perfect opportunity for me to lean into my value of freedom, my values of like choosing my own path. Everything I wanted, I could see could come within this path. And so I went down it, was very successful, and then I ended up burning out.
Hmm.
I ended up manifesting anxiety and depression and had never had them in my life. And so much so that like when I went to doctors, they were like, uh, yeah, you've got anxiety and depression. I couldn't even say the words. And I was like, how? How? I'm married to the love of my life. I have two beautiful children. I love my job. I love what I do every day. On surface, I couldn't see why I was falling apart. And it was the first time that I'd ever been forced to look inward.
Mm.
And it was in that experience that I started realizing, oh, wait, I can want these things outside of this box that I put them in. I can want more than this box provides me. And that was really jolting to my system because I was 22. Like my big, deep programming years were within, one belief system, one place. And so it was really shocking to me to go, wait. What happens if I lift my eyes? This is where conscious leadership came from. I said,
Yeah.
what if I bring my eyes up and I stop looking down at what I said I wanted? What if I look out? What else do I want? What else do I see about myself? Where else could I have what I wanted? I started asking these bigger questions. And Maria, what happened was I'd been building my business online. I started talking about these things out loud. I was like, you guys, I started like journaling these things and I'm reading these books and here's what I'm finding out about myself. And all these other women flooded to my DMs. They were like,
Wow.
me too. Me too. I'm feeling those same symptoms. What was that book you read? What was that journal prompt you said? And I started feeling that inspiration in my body again. I started feeling like I want to talk to these women about what lights them up. And I realized I wasn't in love with this company anymore. I was in love with the work of advancing, empowering women. And
Yes.
so I ended up walking away from that network marketing career, which was critical.
Well,
It
and
was
that's just it. I want
huge
to say how like that that met a need in a
for a
season.
season.
Like I
Yeah.
want
Which I
people to
didn't know at
know,
the time, though, Maria. I thought,
yeah,
I'll be here forever. I'm
yeah,
going to be the same person that I
yes,
thought I was when I agreed to it at 22. So when I broke up with that identity, it
yes,
wasn't small. It was disorienting. I was like,
yes,
who am I? What am I? What friends do I have? Where do I go? What do I do? And by the way, all my people in my life felt the same thing about me too. They were like, who are you? What are do we match anymore? I
because
don't
you're
know
the
what I
Mary
think
Kay
about you.
gal, right? You were
I
the
was
Mary
the
Kay gal.
Mary
You were
Kay
the
girl.
car gal, the yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
It's like you built this box, which it's a really pretty box with a really pretty bow on it, right? Like it had
Yes.
everything in it, but then you all of a sudden realize you'd completely boxed yourself in, and it's scary to like you said, look up out. Like
Yes.
that took a level of courage that,
Yeah.
quite frankly, I think most people will just sometimes stay in the ho hum of the day and the hustle.
And I
And
thought about it. And I tried. I was like, I remember looking around at my friends, seeing how happy they were. And I was like, why can't I be happy? Why is this not enough for me? Why do I want more than this? I remember just begging God, like, please help me be happy here again. Like something has changed and it must be me. Like, what's wrong? And what I didn't realize was happening to that me in that moment was the natural progression of any human, which is to evolve, to grow again. Like, who in their right mind thinks they're going to be the same person as they were when they were 22 or when they were 18 or like, duh, we grow again. But I didn't know it was natural. We can be just as powerfully called to something as we're called away from it. Things
yeah,
have beginning and endings, but I didn't know that. It was a maturity thing I had to learn. And life got to teach me again. And so, Maria, I went on to really help other women through that transformation of like, how do I begin to ask myself, my heart, my soul, real questions and follow inner guidance? I didn't even know what intuition was at the time, but I ended up learning it, studying it, developing it, teaching it and leading women over the next couple of years in the online market. I
oh my
had
gosh,
retreats, sold out islands, private island retreats where I was taking women through a conscious leader movement of like, eyes up, baby. What do I see? What do I want? How do I go get it? How do we manifest? How do we use energy? All that. It was so exciting. And then
love it.
life did what it did to me again. It burned me out, baby. And I had an adrenal crash, unfortunately. And life paused me again. And what I felt like was a breakdown, which was, I mean, it was a breakdown, but it led me into my next evolution, which was where I said, I'm not just one dimension. I'm not just one thing. I don't just want business. I don't just want success. I want conscious parenting. I want the love of my life. I want to make a difference in this world. I want to be creative and free and self expressed. And I want to be legacy and regal and all these things. And I realized what I really wanted was to grow into this next iteration, which was multi-dimensional matriarch, and where it's we have permission to be the multi-dimensional, full spectrum selves of who we are. And all of it is good. All of it is for us. Every evolution, every iteration of us is we should give ourselves permission to unfold into. And so that's what's really led me to leaving matriarchs. And the word matriarch means a lot to me because matriarchs are the female leaders of communities,
Mm-hmm.
not even just female leaders of homes. They are female uh, people who stand for something bigger than themselves, communities.
Mm-hmm.
And we're at a global crisis time.
Yeah,
And I'm really interested in helping women not just step into their own identity work, but how does what you're doing with yourself, with your family, and your businesses matter to the collective? And that's where the matriarchs really stand. I believe it's our time. And so that's what's led me to this iteration of me.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And actually, I even had been thinking, I think we can sometimes hear matriarch, and then I was still thinking like of the home, the matriarch of the home, the mothers need to rise, and that can be.
Yeah.
But I love how you pointed out it's even deeper than that. Matriarchs,
Mhm.
like the holders of the frequency of the community, the leaders of
Yeah.
the community, but not from ego, from
Yeah.
a place of how can I support the community? How can I support others in awakening to their gifts so we can
Yeah.
all be part of this collective community? And if there was not a time that we needed more of that,
Yeah.
right now
Yeah.
is insane. And Kelly, I've had the honor, we've had the honor of working together and supporting each other a little bit as both of us have gone through an evolution over the last couple
Mhm.
months. And it truly has been an honor to watch you deeply step into this multidimensional matriarch of like coach, visionary,
Mhm.
also watching you powerfully lead your children as a conscious parent, and this season where you're in, where you had originally brought one of your children home and then
Yeah.
the other child, even though he was like thriving in traditional school and he was like a little social butterfly, like he too was like, oh, I was, so welcoming your
Yeah.
second child into homeschooling, then and then also what you're doing with just leading women in this new movement and recording some different programs, like this modeling what it is to be a multi-dimensional matrix. It's not one sided. You're showing us all of your dimensions, and you're doing so beautifully, so gracefully. So in this current season, what's been difficult, or what's been a struggle of like how this evolution has happened for you,
Yeah.
as well as like what's been the most rewarding things about the current season that you're in?
Yeah. Most difficult part, I think, for anybody is just we've got to remember whenever we've not been something before, when we're stepping into a new identity, there's a growth curve there. We're stepping into the growth zone. So as soon as you go to be someone new, you're stepping out of the familiar into the unknown, where you don't just go into the unknown like Anna and Elsa on Frozen. I have a 2-year-old, so I watch that all the time. We don't just step into the unknown. What happens first is when we step out of the familiar, we first have to cross the fear zone,
Yep.
and we are met with our ego part. So the minute I went to go like, I think I want to be a homeschooling mom, the minute I was like, "Oh, yeah, I should do that," my ego showed up and was like, you don't know what the frick you're doing. Like, you have ADHD. You don't even know how to handle yourself. How are you going to teach children? You don't even really like school that much. Like, all my self-talk came up. And what I know, because I know about the growth zone, is this is not a sign to stop. It's just a sign I'm growing.
Yes.
The ego is always going to show up. Our little patterns that keep us safe, they are going to show up first when we go to make a change. And
Mm-hmm.
so that happened for me. So that I was like, this is not evidence that I'm going to fail. This is evidence I'm going somewhere new.
Yes. So totally normalizing the growth zone.
Yes.
Normalizing the growth zone. It is totally normal to have those
Yeah.
fears, doubts, ego shadows, whatever you want to call them,
Yeah.
come up when you are entering
Yeah.
your growth zone. And I actually love how it's like I'm visualizing it right now. I love how it's like the second you go to step out of your comfort zone, you'll hit the fear zone, but then you'll
Yes.
hit the growth zone. And then you're gonna hit like
Yes.
the expand and evolve zone. So it's like
Yes. So
normalizing that.
yeah. So again, I have a visual. I recommend anyone like Google the growth zone. Like, just get a picture on your phone, save it as a favorite in your phone.
Oh,
I've taught this so much, I can see it in my head now, but it helped me in the beginning to look at it. It was like, this is normal. I first am in my familiar zone. I'm in the place where it feels really safe. I feel comfortable. I'm not threatened anywhere, but I'm also not growing. If
yes.
I stay here too long, I'm going to feel that dissatisfaction of my potential not being actualized. So the growth, safety zone is good for us only for a season, because it is natural for us to want to grow again. Right outside of that center circle, the next little ring is the fear zone. So the minute you step out of there, your fear is going to be like, stop, you can't do it. And this is all of your patterns just trying to keep you safe. They
Yes.
are not your real voice. They are not the soul within you. They are just your human that is going, we've got some history of taking risks. And I'd like to remind you of all the evidence of why we might not be qualified for this big thing you're trying to step into. You've got to know that that's just the first voice that's going to happen after you step out.
Yes.
But if you can learn to listen to that voice, so I listen to that ego part and I go, oh my gosh, I hear you. I know you're scared. I know we're freaking out. And you're right. This is big. This is scary. And I show them my view, my vision of the future. Look at what we want. I show them my values. At the end of our life, Kel, we want really healthy, conscious children. We want children that are so relationally connected to us that they want to come home when they're adults. We want children who know how to manage their emotions. We see the path for us through homeschool. So we're going to keep going after this. Like I remind those parts of like my value.
Yeah.
And then you keep stepping forward and you go into the learning zone. And this is where you're not good at it, but you stay long enough to just say, hey, I'm learning something new. And then the next step is the growth zone where you get to actually live and touch and exist in the manifestation of your purpose. But
Mm.
whenever someone's going
So,
through change, you've got to know it's going to take time for that thing to become the new comfort zone. And those
yes.
steps, the feelings that come through it, if you just know they're a part of the process, then you can normalize, this is what it feels like to grow. So Maria, I've been feeling that. I mean, you've gotten a firsthand witness of it where I've just
Yeah.
been like, this is showing up for me. This is hard. I feel like I don't have what it takes, but I've not let that be enough evidence to stop. I've just been with it to help comfort myself and like love myself through the process of becoming someone new.
Yeah. Yeah. And so another beautiful point, living from your purpose, living into your purpose does not mean it's going to always be easy. It
Mm-mm.
doesn't mean it's going to always be pretty because inevitably your purpose is often going to ask you to rise to
Yeah.
the next level, rise to where are we going with this next because your purpose and if you know and I want to say too like depending on whoever's listening to this, I know we have listeners who some are like full on intuition spirituality woo, some may also still be in more of like a Christian value system, so purpose can also be like your purpose that you get from God, source, whatever is within your faith and belief system. But living from your purpose also means that you might be asked to step up and rise. And we want to normalize this process, though, where it can be messy, your shadows can come up, but that's just part of the natural growth zone, the natural growth process. So to remind people that it can be both. You can have the duality of, I'm being asked to live in my purpose and to take a
Yeah.
bigger step, and it's scary.
Yeah. And it's not, it might ask you, it will ask you. Your purpose, your purposes
Yes.
will be these things that call your heart, that call you and make you uncomfortable because they're asking you to move. And they will happen for the rest of your life because we don't just have one purpose for one season. And I thought that originally, I
Yes.
was like, I
Yes.
found it. I found my vehicle. I found the place I'm going to make all my money and all my dreams come true. And then when my purpose ended there, I was like white knuckling it. I was like, oh God, please make me
Don't
happy
make me
here.
do it
Like,
again.
yeah, don't make me do it again. But what I didn't realize was how boring. How boring would it be if I found my purpose at 22 and I never did anything else again? It's like, womp womp. Life is like, no, girl, you're going to become a mother. And then you're going to become a mother again. And then you're going to become a mother a third time. And then you're going to have new dreams and you're going to meet new people and you're going to have new ambitions and the values that drive you. You'll understand more about them because you're going
Yes.
to meet new people and it's going to call you to want to be a bigger, better version of yourself over and over again. So if we understand that we don't have one purpose for a lifetime,
Yes.
we have purposes that will call us season by season. And if we can allow ourselves to just honor this one's ending and this one's beginning, and if we understand that we are constantly going to be pursuing a purpose, and it might be in different areas of our life too. Like there are seasons where it's like
Yes.
my marriage is solid and I don't really have to like give a lot of conscious effort to it. I'm living in it. It's beautiful. It's the comfort zone for me. But
Yes.
guess what? Money, my relationship with money showing up. And
Yes.
my health, my vitality, my growth with my relationship with money might be calling me and it's going to feel uncomfortable. And then there's seasons where it's like, oh man, look at me, I'm making a lot of money. And then all of a sudden my marriage is like, hi, babe, we want to grow again. So I don't know. I just think we, especially in the realm of people who dream of a better future, we think we're going to one day arrive. We will never
Yes.
arrive.
Yeah. Yeah.
In one area of your life, it will always be calling you to a
Mhm.
place of discomfort for growth.
Yes.
And if I think, man, if we just understood that a little bit more, we would understand, we would relax a little bit more. We'd be like, oh, wait, this is life. I'm always going to feel this tug and pull dynamic because it's calling me somewhere. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
100%. And I think like for some reason what's coming to mind is like when someone says I want to go on an adventure. And so you go on a hike and I don't know, you're hiking in like I don't know, I don't know parks very much, but like Yosemite Park, I don't know, you're hiking
Yeah.
somewhere. And and so I think of that like the adventure that we signed up for when we came down to earth, right? It's like, okay, I want an adventure. I'm ready to go. But like if you're on a hike, oftentimes the hike is going to present like, oh, here there's like a river. How are we going to get across the river? Oh, over here it's a little bit rockier terrain. I might need to change my shoes.
Yes.
But most people would say that like overall they want a hike that's filled with variety and
Mm,
breadth, and a hike where sometimes we got to pause and rest for the night, and other parts of the hike we're like we got to really get up the hill. But most people would say like give me variety, because if you just gave me a hike that was like no scenery, no change in terrain, like you just said, like that would get boring.
yep.
And so I think, like you said, if we can flip how we view change and evolution and
Yeah.
that awkward growth zone where it's like, what do I do? How am I going to get across the river? How am I going to enter through this dark cave? And started to see it more like this is the adventure that I signed up for.
Yeah.
Every season might have its own adventure, but we started seeing adventures as just opportunities to grow. And also, like something else that's coming through is so many of us, we think we're on this hike by ourselves. And yes, everybody is on their own self actualization journey, but also we came here to do it together. So wouldn't it be
Mm,
so much more fun if we accepted, oh, I'm on this hike though with like my five core people, which those people might also change. Maybe Susie goes off on her own hike and then Joey comes into my hike, right? So I'm just saying, like, we can also do this hike though in community, and that actually makes it a lot more fun. And then we get to lean on each other's strengths and things. So it's
yeah.
like exactly what you were saying, Kelly. It's if we can flip how we're thinking about this change and we come to expect it and
Yeah.
not think like, oh, I'm a failure because I'm at another obstacle. All right. Oh,
Yes.
I must have done something wrong because I thought I was supposed to be on the straight and narrow. For some reason, this question keeps coming through to ask. So I'm going to ask it of you, Kelly, before I'm going to move you into like what have been some of the joys of this current season.
Yeah.
But I can't remember. Did you grow up with anybody in your family who was an entrepreneur? Were you seeing anyone else
Mm-mm.
model entrepreneurship, or were you like me raised by people who maybe kind of told you and showed you that it's like, oh no, you find your one thing, maybe it's one job or one career, or like that was claimed as to be the pinnacle, was to find your one thing, and then that like right, because we're
Yeah.
talking about conditioning. So tell me, how was that for you growing up? What was shown or modeled to you?
So I had two parents that both worked for the exact same company for decades, decades, decades,
Same,
decades.
same.
And now I will say, so there was two experiences that really shaped me. One was I watched, well, there were several, but one, I watched my dad. He was in sales. And I remember because he was in sales, he understood entrepreneurship, but he worked for a company doing sales. And I
Okay.
remember him saying to me, because I was a creator, again, I was selling rocks at my bus stop,
He was
painted with
probably
nail polish.
watching you like, oh, I've
Yeah,
got a little cellar, here and
probably.
there.
And I remember him saying to me, he was like, Kelly, if you can find someone's need and you can create something to fill their need, you'll never want money again.
Wow.
He was like, if you could just find out what someone needs, like I think he inner in his heart wished he could figure that out for himself because he was not independent. He was selling someone else's product. But I remember him saying that to me and I was like, whoa, I want to
That's
be
profound.
free.
Yeah. What a
He was like, you would never want money again. You'd always
sliver
be
of
free.
advice he gave you that was huge.
Yes, and it stuck with me. And so I remember looking for that. Like, what do people need and what do people want? And I remember thinking that. So that stuck with me. And the second one was I remember interning with my mom during the summer. It was like one of my first years in college. And I remember having to drive into the city 30 minutes away every single day in a commute. And we worked in an office where my cubicle was in the back, far away from windows. And I sat there all day long till 4 p.m. I died. I was like, I cannot do this every day for the rest of my life. Like, I cannot believe my mom has done this for 30 years. Like, I
Yes.
could not. I knew I've got to find another way because for me, that was not in alignment with what my soul wanted. And
Yes.
so entrepreneurship became a yearning out of those two experiences, this desire energy of like, whoa, what could I do? And then feeling the constriction of I cannot do that. Both of those things led me to want to find a way to be free and make money on my own terms.
And that just points out to people those two defining moments for you, Kelly. And like, you had more, but those
Yeah.
two defining moments that you just shared literally speaks to how like your soul was woke up and like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, this is what's possible for me. I want to do something different. I want, right? And at the same time, I want to point out the duality is though, like, but at the end of the day, your subconscious mind, which is created, and primarily we like our subconscious mind and our beliefs is between the ages of 0 and 10. So then you also saw modeled to you, though, two parents who ultimately went day in and day out to the same job. It sounds like they had a similar
Yep.
path and stayed in the same industry. So that's where those two things can sometimes find resistance because your soul knew
Yeah. And
where
that's what
you
I
were
went to
headed,
do. I
but
got a
your
degree.
mind's like, oh, but I don't
Yep.
know, is that safe?
Yeah, I went to school, got my, degree, went to get my master's. I was 6 months from finishing my master's when I started my network marketing business. And I remember telling my parents, like, I want to quit. And they were like, can you please just finish? Like, what if, like, please just finish? And I was like, no, it was like the first moment I made a decision for myself outside of them being supportive. I was like,
Yes.
I know, like I know, like I know I'm supposed to go do this. And luckily, I say luckily because I was growing up in a Christian household. Faith was important to us. And so I was like, I know you've told me about how God moves. I feel that for like the
Yes.
first time in my life, like in a big
I
way. This is
gotta
leading me.
listen.
I've got to listen. And I was right. It led me, it was a moment that took me into the next season of my path. And so it was kind of cool looking back. I didn't have the name intuition. I didn't know my soul was guiding me at the time, but constriction and expansion was both giving me information back there then. It's
Yes.
really cool.
100%. Okay, I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah, I just wanted to highlight that for people that it's like
Yeah.
it's so normal if you didn't have parent like and for many of us our generation of parents and my parents are a little bit older so I would guess
Yeah.
maybe my parents are around the same age as yours. um they just came from the generation and the mentality like we just have to think right they came from maybe their parents were in the Great Depression so ultimately they just wanted stability and
Stability.
consistency
Yep.
and that's fine
Hmm.
but many of us are being called to step into this multi-dimensional purpose where
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be the same career day in and day out. And I also want to express like I know I do have some friends too though who are still in healthcare. That was the
Yeah.
industry I formerly had been in,
Mhm.
and they love it, and they have found
Oh,
their passion.
100%.
And so 100%, the world needs all of us. Like we need
Yeah.
the nurses, we need the doctors, we need the people who like are who love that consistency, and we also need those of us who are also like envisioning just something different and creating something different. Like all of that is needed in the current paradigm.
Yeah, and I would even invite people to just take my story and almost think back, what were some defining moments in your own childhood that gave you clarity in what you didn't want and what you do want? Both are information. And
Yes.
so you can start to see where did I light up? Where did I lean in? What feels expansive? What could I do for free? What do I love? Head towards that direction. And the things that make you feel scarce, small, shriveled, constricted, that's what's saying this does not give you life. And I
Yes.
think I just want to say this because a lot of my work is leading women to trust their intuition and
Yeah.
developing their intuition so that they can create a life that is by design for them. And one of the things that I just want to say is the reason that the things that give you energy, whatever's meant for you, God will give you energy for. Does that make
Yes.
sense? So you will feel inspired, excited, motivated. You'll be up at night thinking about it because source, God, is saying, pour it on her. Pour it on her, pour it in. I'm going to give her more than she needs. I'm going to give her so much energy, so much excitement because she needs life force to create this in the world. And the things that are not giving you life, that are actually taking from your physical body, that is a sign that God is not giving you energy to move in that direction. So I think that's important to know, like the things that are draining us. Now, listen, things like taxes drain me. I'm not a fan, but it's part of the entrepreneurship path.
Yes.
It's part of my
Yes.
lesson, right? But I just think it's important to know you will be energetically supported for the things you were meant to head towards. So they they will be supported, if that
A
makes
hun-
sense.
100%. And this also speaks to your story and many entrepreneurs' story. You can tune into that inner knowing, what's lighting me up, what's not lighting me up. You can listen to that inner knowing, and yes, as many people say, we are we're still in this 3D human experience. Nobody's saying that like this, like that you should all of a sudden quit your 9 to 5 job, have no income in coming in, and just be like, well, but I want to be an artist, and I'm going to be an
Right.
artist, and like somehow
Yeah.
it's just going to pay my bills. Now, I we are two fairly manifestation wooey people. Don't get us wrong
Yeah.
here, but I just want to point out to people that like there are obviously ways you can be pragmatic
Yeah.
about. I want to be an artist. I'm going to start taking classes, and I might start telling my boss that I need to create more boundaries at work. So it's like you get to build the parameters around how you begin to do that. I mean, especially speaking to you, Kelly, as someone who has gone through so many different iterations
Mhm.
of yourself. And I'm sure even from leaving Mary Kay to then beginning to lean into coaching, there
Mhm.
was a time where you were still maybe doing some sales of Mary Kay on the side while you were building up your coaching business. So again, I feel like your inner knowing would probably also kind of like guide you. Okay, how can we now maybe practically begin this shift?
Yeah. Well, what I believe is that life wants to help you manifest it in a healthy way. And so you've got to have some feet on the ground while your head is in the clouds. That's actually a mantra I use for the matriarchs. It's like feet are on the ground, but my heads are in the cloud. Like my vision is always in a place that doesn't exist yet, but my feet are on the ground. And
Yes.
so when I took the risk to walk away from my network marketing, I actually asked to be terminated. I was like, so I had no more money coming in from that 10-year career, but went and got a nanny job, went and started coaching CrossFit, like made some other money while I built this other thing because
Love
I
that.
had bills to pay.
Yes. Yes. No, and I love that. Again, like, so that's just like listen to your drive, have your vision. Like you said, have your
Yeah.
feet on the ground, have your feet
Yep.
on the ground.
Yep.
Kelly, in this season of Living in Purpose, then we talked about then what has been some of the difficulties being in the growth zone, normalizing that for people. And what have been some of your glimmers? What have been some of the things that have shown up as like blessings for you in the small, quiet moments of the current season you're in?
Yeah. They've been exactly what they are. They are not highlight. I'm not having highlight reel moments right now. Like I'm not at this season in my life, I'm not like, look, I rented a private island anymore. I'm like, oh my gosh, look at the emotional intelligence of my children. Look at how my son the other day, he was like wiggling his body and like doing all this stuff. And I was like, buddy, what are you feeling? And he was like, I'm feeling angry. And I was like, do you need to scream in a pillow? And he was like, yes. And he just went and screamed in a pillow and got out his rage. He was so frustrated with his sister. And then he started giggling. And I'm like, are you good now? And he was like, I think I need to scream one more time. I'm watching these little private moments of emotional intelligence and acknowledgement of your own feelings. And today we're really focused on goals and like being consistent and follow through and goal setting. I had an entrepreneurship lesson with my kids today. They're starting their own businesses.
Oh my God, I
I'm
love that so much.
watching I'm watching my children learn the skills that I learned decades later as an 8 and 10-year-old. And my 2-year-old, she'll get in her little classes with me when she's ready. But I'm feeling the fulfillment of living in my values. And it's not loud, it's not big, it's not shiny, but it has me. Maria, I said this to my community and I want to share it here. There's one feeling I'm chasing. I want to put my head on the pillow every single night and say, I did it. I showed up as her, the woman I want to be. And if I just do each day, one day at a time, just today, did I give it my best? Did I align to the woman I wanted to be? Where did I lose some reps? How could I do it better? And I just lay my head down going, I gave it my best today. And I'm really proud of that. Then every day feels fulfilled rather than waiting for highlight moments. That's it.
Yeah.
I have a pillow test. That's how I know I'm doing it one day at a time. And that feels so healthy for me because I used to be someone who chased the big moments.
Yeah.
As an ADHD woman, I love dopamine hits. I need a big thing to make me
Yes.
feel very important and very charged and very excited and very motivated. And instead, I'm learning how to find the hits in these smaller little moments that nobody knows about. Nobody's celebrating me. And and yet I'm feeling like you're doing it. You're like putting a deposit in the bank for the thing you say you really want most. And that's been big for me as a recovering achiever.
I love the pillow test. I
Mhm.
love the
It's the
pillow
pillow
test. And I
test. Yeah.
think more women, men, who's ever listening to this need to hear about the pillow test because you'll have seasons, right? We'll have seasons where it's the highlight reel and you're doing the speaking and the private islanding and like all the things. And then you'll have seasons that are quieter. They're pivot seasons, they're growth seasons, or whatever you want to call it seasons. And yet you still need to find that level of gratitude and fulfillment to like keeping on in your purpose. Use Kelly's pillow test. Like it's a great way, right? It's like, yeah, you might not be inundated with like yays and hurrahs and like 10K months and whatever, and like in that instance. However, can you hit your head on the pillow?
Mhm.
Did I do what I say I was going to do? Am I living in my values? Did I impact people? Did I like tell one person I love them or whatever it looks like for you? Make your own pillow test. I love the pillow test, Kelly.
Yeah.
And I just want to say I know too, as also like a former recovering achiever, like chasing the external milestones and like the promotions and all of that. Um, I appreciate and I love, even though it feels small, when you do like if you're following Kelly on Instagram, and I'll be sharing her socials down below. I love when you share a sliver into your day. Oh, with the kids at CrossFit today, and then I'm doing an entrepreneurship with the older kids. I love it. I love watching a woman living in her purpose. I love a woman just like showing us a snapshot of like what have been the glimmers of the day because yeah, I just think everyday people, all of us right now just need like a reminder that the big thing doesn't need to be the promotion. The big thing could just be like I watched my son play soccer today and just to
Yeah.
remind everybody of that.
Yeah. Well, and I really had to learn the power of presence because I was a very goal-oriented big mile marker. Is it on a billboard? Like, y'all, I was on a billboard twice in Times Square representing my company. Like, I've done some big, shiny things, and not every day is that.
Yeah.
And so it's
Yeah.
like, well, how do these other days get to feel good and feel
Yes.
healthy and feel well? And, if you're gonna really work for something, this is a great example for your audience to do. I would encourage you to write your eulogy.
Mm,
I have written my eulogy and I wrote down like at the end of my life, like what people are saying about me. And here's what I know. I know what my kids say about me. And I know about the PDA relationship I had with my husband that made my kids sick. They're like, "Ugh, mom and dad." I want to be so in love with him that they're annoyed we're so PDA. Like, I want our marriage to be exceptional. I want us to be best friends. I want to be in adventures. I want our kids to want to come home. I want to have made a difference in the lives of other women. Guess what? That eulogy is going to take my whole lifetime.
yeah.
So then you look at that eulogy and you say, what are the affirmations and values that I need to be living today to sow into that? And that means every day you've got to just find a way to win in those values. And then it makes you feel so connected to the bigger thing you're doing that's going to take a lifetime. So for
Yes.
us achievers, like we've got to learn to redefine what winning and success looks like in small ways, because if it's always the big shiny thing, what I want most is my kids are not going to be able to be evidence of that for a long time. So I've got to look for the ways that I see myself winning now. Yeah.
Okay, so we've gotten there's so many good things in this episode already, Kelly.
Mhm.
The eulogy exercise, highly recommend doing that, especially because the other piece I loved is you were sharing about the eulogy exercise, especially for those of us who come from like high achiever and give me the next milestone.
Yeah.
most eulogies aren't talking about, well, at 21, Kelly got 3 promotions.
Yep.
And then she was also hitting 10K months. Oh, and she was on a billboard twice. I mean, and not that those things aren't cool and shiny and like also part of your impact, but those things rarely get a hit in
Yeah.
a eulogy, right? It's like at the end of the day, it's like, what was the legacy that Kelly left behind? How did she make people feel? What did she love doing? What was she passionate about? Like Kelly was so passionate about helping women step into their purpose and their leadership, and it's like not listing out all the things that our ego thinks it's gonna be. And
Yeah.
so the eulogy exercise, do the eulogy exercise.
Yeah, because it just
Okay.
aligns you to the things you really want to contribute to. It's like, oh my gosh. And it's really cool to look at the values that show up in your eulogy and be like, am I even living in those? Like that, again, the contrast can always be information. So it's a really powerful exercise to start to find what do I really care about and how can I start living that in the present moment?
Yes, presence,
Yeah,
presence. Okay, Kelly, I could talk to you for hours, and you'll definitely have to come back onto the
love it.
podcast. And I'm thinking this fall, I want to dive deeper into a series on like going more into like the intuition and the spirituality and maybe your journey through that. So we'll be having Kelly back on the podcast. But for now, is there anything else that you want to leave listeners with that you're feeling called to share? And then also, where's the best place to find you, connect with you, or a program or a resource or anything that you'd like to share and shout out, knowing that we'll also drop these links down below in the show notes.
Yeah, absolutely. So I believe at this moment in time, there's this prophecy. It's called the bird of humanity. And if, for anybody who sees the video, I want you to imagine my hand is in a fist and I pop out my pinky, okay? And my thumb. These are two wings of the bird. And right now, the thumb is tucked in, the pinky is out, and that's the masculine wing of humanity. And for the last couple centuries, the masculine wing has been extended. And what happens when one wing is extended out? We fly in circles. And that's what we've been seeing repeated by living in a patriarchal masculine world. We have been cycling the same story over and over and over in different civilizations over and over again. We are at a moment in history that is asking the feminine wing, that thumb, to pop herself out, to rise and extend herself. And you can't see it, but my little necklace and my earrings have
They'll see it.
little
This will be
birds.
released via video, so
Oh,
they'll
good.
see it.
So there's a bird on here that reminds me that it is my job to help the wing extend, feminine women to extend themselves, to step up in their independence, in their sovereignty, to live out their values. Because when you are living out your values, you are doing your part. If you are homeschooling, if you are building businesses, if you are saving lives in hospitals, if you are stepping up politically in your community, no matter
Yes,
what it is that your call is, we each have a boat to row, a place to stand. But we cannot do that when the women are being silent. And
yes,
so I just released a course that's called The Initiation, and it's all about the challenges and the hardships that life is inviting you into to initiate you into the feminine leader you're supposed to be. And
yes,
this is for the mom at home, and this is for the CEO who's leading her company. It doesn't matter. This walks you through the sovereign rite of passage that we go through as women. Like I talked about the growth zone, it lives in that
yes.
program. And so I would love to, Maria, I'm going to extend a coupon code to your audience for anyone who would love to go through that because if we would understand all the challenges we are facing right now are invitations. They are invitations for a part of your soul to find out it can stand on its legs. You can be the woman who speaks out. You can live in your authenticity and truth. That is my work right now. And so if that resonates with you, you can find me on Kelly Brock on Instagram. My podcast is coming back out, Guide Not Guru, which I'm so grateful for. It's been 3 year hiatus. And
Woo!
this program, the initiation, it is just from above. It's from above, come below for women at this moment in time. And so if you feel that call as a woman, like I can't even stay still, this is for you. Yeah. So
Oh
I
my,
would love to offer your audience an opportunity to be in that.
thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I can't tell you, anybody who's listening, no matter what you're doing, 9 to 5, home parenting, leading a business, whatever it is, please go check out the initiation. It is work that we are all being called into right now. And at the end of the day, it's like what I love about it is like you don't have to go right to the deep end, right? I think some people are like, oh no, like I'm gonna go right to the deep end and like I don't know what I'm doing. And if this conversation sparked something in you, the initiation is a beautiful place to start. And I can't imagine a better woman to lead you through that. So Kelly,
And
thank
no
you
surprise,
so much.
I had three guest experts and Maria was one of them because I'm like, I need you to bring your healing power to these women because truly we've got to learn to work with our ego parts. And Maria
Yes.
brought such a beautiful healing session that the women who went through it in this last round, they were just like, what was that? Like I'm changed by it. So you'll
Oh,
get to experience Maria and her magic too.
yes, thank you so much. So I will have where to find Kelly, more about her program, as well as a code for our listeners. And make sure to check all of those things out, as well as go follow Guide, Not Guru, as she will have new podcast episodes releasing as well soon. Kelly, it's been an honor to have you on the podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.